Hello, ladies and gentlemen, as guardians and mutants alike. Welcome to another Liam Aiden gameplay video. Back with more Marvel Strike Force today, where we're going to be taking another look at the Defenders. Now, way back when, at some point last year, several months ago, I made a video on the Defenders on why I think they are a great first team to go for in the game. This is what I said back then. They're a great team to farm first. They do have their limitations, and one of those big limitations is there's no reason to power them all the way up. This is a great beginning team. It's not necessarily a team that you're still going to be using at the end of the game. With that in mind, this is my recommendation for how far to gear and power up your Defenders squad. 5-star, gear ability 10, and abilities level 5 is as far as you're going to need to go. Now, first of all, the audio quality on that video was a lot lower. I hope that's apparent. The voice recording was not up to par. We're moving forward. Slowly but surely, we are moving forward. Secondly, I was wrong. I was wrong about the Defenders. While I do stand by the claim that they are a good beginners team, and maybe they don't have quite as much utility later in the game, they're certainly not a meta team. They're not a team you're going to want to invest everything into. I was totally wrong saying don't take them above 5-star and don't upgrade their abilities above level 4 or 5. And this is why. Defenders have several places in the game where they have specialized uses, where they can really excel. And these are areas of the game that you don't access until maybe a little later. So to begin with, Heroes campaign, the Heroes Chapter 7, the first 3 campaign nodes you can only complete with city hero characters, and the Defenders are by far the best roster of city hero characters that you can compile, much better than some of the other combinations you can come up with, the various Spider-Man, Ms. Marvel, Night Nurse, things like that. Defenders blow them all out of the water. So these first 3 nodes on Heroes Chapter 7, that's where you're going to want to use Defenders. Secondly, Dark Dimensions, specifically Dark Dimensions 1. Now this again is a part of the game that you don't really access until later. It's a late stage part of the game that you access. Now the first Dark Dimensions level, you need characters of 6-star in order to access it. This is a place you can get some amazing rewards, some really great rewards, and Defenders are a fantastic team to use to defeat Dark Dimensions 1. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say they're the team that I recommend to use on Dark Dimensions 1. They're going to be so useful as you move up the game. You're going to need them for those first 3 nodes of Heroes Chapter 7, and then you can use them also for Dark Dimensions and unlock some amazing rewards along the way. In addition, you're going to get great usage out of Defenders in both Blitz and Raids. Now obviously, as I said, they're not a meta team, but they're a really solid team in Blitz. And when it comes to Raids, you're going to find great usage for them, not just in the Ultimus Raids, but also in the Greek Raids, where you do come across a lot of city-specific nodes. Again, these are nodes where you can only use characters with the city tag. So obviously your Sinister Six is in there. You do have a lot of other examples, all the Spider-Man as I mentioned, but Defenders are a really solid team to choose to take out those city nodes. You really do get a lot of usage on them in Raids, and it's worth, obviously Raids you're going to be coordinating with your other guild members, but you are going to want someone with a decent Defenders team, ideally someone with a decent Defender team and someone with a decent Sinister Six team, in order to take out those harder city nodes as you move up through the Greek Raids. So what does this mean in terms of how far you're going to want to take Defenders in terms of star, gear, and ability levels? Well, I think it means that you're going to want to take them to at least 6-star. I am going all the way with mine. I'm going to take them all the way to 7-star, as you can see here. So these are the Defenders. In that 5th slot, I'm using Punisher in that 5th slot. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, just briefly in the video. There are lots of different options for who you can use in that 5th slot, but the main lineup that most people go for, the lineup that I recommended in that previous Defenders video that I made way back when for the best first team, is the Pun Fenders lineup. So that's your 4 Defenders with the Punisher in that 5th slot. So let's take a quick look at the team and where I think you might want to take them. So this is my Daredevil here. Obviously, I've taken him up to gear 13. Do I think you need to take your Daredevil up to gear 13? I absolutely do not. This was something I just did on a whim. I had all the required gear, and I just did it. A moment of madness, if you will. Will I regret it? I don't think so, but it's a lot to invest in a character, so you definitely don't have to. Although I do think you probably want to take him up to gear 12. And as I said, I'm going for a full 7 stars. You can see I'm almost there. I'm so close, can almost taste it. And I do think it's worth it, but you want to take him up to at least 6 stars in order to be able to use him on the dark dimensions that we mentioned earlier. In terms of ability levels, you can see I've gone for 6, 6, 6, 5. That passive ability maxing out at 5, of course, so I did spend T4 on that. I did take it to the maximum, and I think it's worth it to do that for Daredevil's passive because it gives extra speed, extra dodge chance, and extra damage per defender ally on his moves. I think that's where on Daredevil, I think that's the one place you're going to want to make that T4 investment. Jessica Jones. Now, Jessica Jones is actually probably one of the most viable Defenders characters, even outside the Defenders lineup. She's a pretty good plug and play character. You can see here I actually have all of the gear needed to take her up to gear 13. I'm not going to do that right now, although I think I might do because you can use her on a lot of other hero teams. Again, I'm taking her up to 7 star. That's just going to be the case for all of these Defenders characters and the Punisher as well. I'm taking everyone up to 7 star. You don't have to, but I do recommend going up to at least 6 star. And then with the gear here, I've gone for a little higher T4 investment. So starting with Jawbreaker, Jessica Jones's basic attack, I've taken that all the way up to level 7. I maxed it out with the T4, and I did that because there you're getting a huge amount of extra damage, extra attack chance, and extra energy creation for allies. So that's really worth it, especially if you're using her on that Defender squad. Then I've also taken Rejection, her ultimate, up to T4. I've taken it up to 7 as well. I've done that because you get a huge damage increase. It really puts out a ton of damage at this T4 level 7 max level, and also clears all positive effects from the enemy. I think it's really worth it. Again, she's a massive addition to the Defenders team, and probably the best, most viable Defender outside of that Defenders lineup as well. Luke Cage, poor Luke Cage. I mean, he's the first Defender that you get, one of the very first characters you get in the game, and I'm going to go ahead and say he's probably the least useful character on this Defender roster. You can see right there that I have not put any T4 investment into him. I've not maxed anything out. He's just sitting at 6, 6, 6, 4, and that's where I'd leave him. I mean, his taunt, you can take his taunt up, bring it on, and then it lasts a little longer. I think you get an extra turn on it, but at level 6, it already lasts for 2 turns. I think that's probably as much investment as you want to give into that. Now, he's actually the easiest of the Defenders characters to farm. You're getting him from the Blitz store. You're going to be getting a ton of Blitz currency. So as you can see, I've already taken him to 7 star. I think he was actually Rhino was the first character I took to 7 star. Probably the second or third. Maybe I got Wolverine there just from the daily logins before I got Luke Cage, but he could easily be the first character you take to 7 star, even before your Wolverine logins, if you really wanted to, and if you focused on it. I do think he's worth taking to 7 star. Obviously, I've done it, and again, he's up at gear 12. I'm probably not going to take him any higher than that. He's kind of slow, doesn't really have any utility outside of the Defender squad, but all of the passive actions that he has, so increasing defense for everybody else and activating that taunt, they really interplay with Punisher, as we're going to see in just a little bit. So he does add a lot to the squad, but I don't think he's worth investing in terms of those T4 materials. Iron Fist may be the hardest one in the lineup to farm. There's not a lot to love here. Again, I don't think he has a huge amount of viability, especially outside of the Defender squad, but I do think it is worth taking his passive ability, Son of Kunlun, up to the maximum ability, up to 5. The reason for that is that you get a ton of additional healing for the Defender and City Hero allies on your squad. And I think that really is worth investing in. You're going to take a lot of damage as Defenders. Their damage output isn't great, really. Jessica Jones, and I guess Iron Fist with his ultimate ability, they're your 2 big damage dealers, maybe Punisher if you're using Punisher as well. So the reason that this squad works is because they keep healing and buffing each other, and Iron Fist is key to that, even though his utility outside of the squad is kind of limited. But I do think it's worth making that T4 investment to take his passive ability max it out at level 5. Finally then, our 5th slot, which we're going to give to the Punisher. Now the Punisher, again, is a little bit like Jessica Jones. He does have viability outside of the regular Defenders squad. Obviously, he doesn't actually have the Defenders tag, not being strictly a member of the Defenders, and recently we've seen synergy with him and other characters with the skill military tag. So especially some of these newer characters, Red Guardian and so forth, they do have some synergy with Punisher because of that military and skill tags, because he's got those 2 tags there. So we're increasingly seeing him being used in non-Punisher based teams. So because of this, maybe he's worth investing in even more than I'm going to recommend here. We'll just have to see how things move forward for him. Now, obviously, again, I'm taking him to 7-star, taking all these characters to 7-star. I've taken him to gear 12. That's where I think you want to take him in order to make him viable for Dark Dimensions, raids, Blitz, and those first 3 nodes on Heroes Chapter 7, where I think you do want to use him with the Defenders. But he's maybe another one of these characters that it might be worth taking higher. I might end up taking him to gear 13, especially depending on how I end up using him with the military skill characters. On top of that, I do recommend taking his passive ability, Lock and Load, up to max level 5, using that T4 to take it to level 5. And I spoke a lot about this in the previous video that I did on the Defenders. I really think it's key to putting out a good assault, a good offensive lineup with the Defenders. When you max out Lock and Load, Punisher gains an assist every time an ally uses a non-offensive ability. Now with the Defenders, this is what I was talking about back with Luke Cage, you actually have quite a few non-offensive abilities. Every time Iron Fist heals, every time Jessica Jones purges everyone's everyone's debuffs of her allies, every time Luke Cage engages in defense up or activates his taunt, Punisher is attacking the targeted enemy character. You're basically getting a bunch of free attacks. Secondly, maxing out Lock and Load means that Punisher retaliates every time Daredevil is attacked. And again, this is key. These are just free offensive moves that you're getting by including Punisher in that 5th spot. I really do think he is a great addition. I think probably the ultimate addition, at least early on, to the Defenders team to make it out to a fully rounded 5-person squad. So that's my correction for that. I think you want to actually max them out on stars. I think you want to take them up to around gear 12, gear 13 if you really feel like it. And I think you want to make the T4 investments that I indicated, because I think they're worth it. And you get great utility for Defenders in those late game stages that we just looked at. But that's not all, ladies and gentlemen, because just the other day we got a brand new huge update to the game. We got released the 5.1 release, which is going to add 4 new playable characters to the game. It also gave us a rework for Daredevil amongst other characters. Going to talk in a minute about some of those additional characters that we're getting and their possible utility in that 5th Defenders slot, especially if we end up kind of moving Punisher over to more of the military skill type teams. But first of all, let's take a quick look at the rework that happened with Daredevil. So to begin with, they gave the character 11% extra health. I mean, come on, that's nothing to be sniffed at. That's a pretty awesome upgrade for the character and should hopefully make him more viable, because he was a little bit squishy before. They updated his basic, giving it additional damage and on the bonus attack as well, and they added a bunch of synergy. So previously, his basic, special, ultimate, and passive had synergy with characters that had the Defender tag, and now they've thrown in this new additional tag, Shadowland. I'm going to talk more about that and its potential significance in just a second. But the fact that Daredevil has been given this Shadowland tag, and the fact that other Defender members have been given this Shadowland tag, means that again, they're looking at potentially adding in different synergies here. So Daredevil is no longer just going to be viable with the Defender squad, but you can actually use him with additional squads, characters that have this new Shadowland tag, and that's going to be viable for war as well, not just in the regular game modes. This is pretty exciting stuff. I'm actually really pleased that I took him up to gear 13. I think there's going to be additional viability there, and I'm looking forward to getting more use out of this character as the rework really takes effect and as we move forward. Finally, we are getting those new characters added in the 5.1 update. Jubilee, of course, prime among them. We're getting Jubilee, Bishop, Moon Knight, and White Tiger, and this is where the real significance of that Shadowland tag and potential significance for our defenders really comes in. White Tiger is the one of those 4 additional characters that has not yet appeared in the game. If you look through the character roster, you can see Jubilee, you can see Bishop, you can see Moon Knight. White Tiger is not yet there. Now, we know that she's going to come through this Shadowland event. That's how she's going to be introduced to the game. And we can see with the Shadowland tag that it's already been given to Daredevil and Elektra and Night Nurse. Now, all 3 of those characters got an update. I didn't talk about the other updates in this release, but Elektra and Night Nurse got updates as well. I think maybe another character did. Can't remember off the top of my head. I think we can assume that other characters are going to get the Shadowland tag too, but definitely I think White Tiger is going to be one of them. Now, coming back to this idea of there being other options for that 5th slot in the Defender tag, or indeed for Scopely to increase the synergy of Defender's characters with other squads, as we've already seen with the Punisher and the military skill characters, and as we're, I think, witnessing right now with Daredevil and these Shadowland characters. So you could see really kind of a breaking up of this Defender squad, but at the same time, potential additions for that 5th spot. And I think a top contender for that 5th spot, if we do end up trying to move Punisher over to more of a military skill-based squad, could be White Tiger. Now, this is working on the assumption that this version of White Tiger that we're getting, because there have been several different characters in the history of Marvel who've used the name White Tiger, but this is working on the assumption that the version we're going to be getting in Marvel Strike Force is Angela Del Toro. They haven't confirmed or denied this yet, but while we know we're getting one of the female White Tigers, I think it's pretty fair to assume at this point that it is Angela Del Toro that we're getting in game. Now, this is a character who had a lot of interplay with Daredevil in the comics, so it would make sense, especially if they share that tag. Now, if you also give Angela Del Toro's White Tiger the City Hero tag, which again would make perfect sense, and the Shadowland tag, she's going to have a lot of synergy with Daredevil. That's potentially going to mean that she could make up a squad of, I guess, Shadowland characters with Elektra, Night Nurse, Daredevil, and then someone else in there. It would also mean that she'd be quite a good fit for this 5th slot in the Defender squad, potentially rivaling other options like Spider-Man or Ms. Marvel. I'm really excited to see how this goes in future. It's just another reason why I think Defenders are a great squad for you to be investing in right now. But what do you think? I actually got flack on that previous video when I was saying, that I only think you should take Defenders up to 5-star. People were saying, don't even bother, only take them up to 3-star. All you need to do is get the unlock. So now that I'm going back on that, and I'm actually saying, I think they are worth taking all the way, at least to 6-star, but probably up to 7-star, gear level 12, and they're worth spending the T4 on. That's my opinion. Hopefully I've won you over. I've given evidence for that. But let me know what you think. I'd be really interested in hearing your criticisms and comments down below. Thanks for being a part of this journey today. If you've enjoyed this video, found it entertaining or interesting in any way, please consider giving it a like, a thumbs up down below, and why not consider subscribing to the channel. I drop new gameplay videos for Marvel Strike Force, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and a handful of other games every week. That's all for Liam Maiden Gameplay today. I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, look after each other.